Hey, what's going on, guys? What is happening? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Week 2, Eagles versus Niners. What am I watching? Here are 4 storylines to watch, but before we get started, please be sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that like button if you love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's get going. My number 1 storyline for the Eagles is Nick Sirianni versus the Suicide Squad. What an impressive debut by the Eagles offense led by Nick Sirianni. A healthy Eagles offensive line and masterful performance by Jalen Hurts resulted in a balanced attack featuring quick passes and wide open running lanes. The trio of Jalen Hurts, Kenny Gainwell, and Miles Sanders totaled 173 yards and 5.6 yards per carry. Jalen Hurts did not get sacked once, while the Atlanta defensive front tallied only 1 quarterback hit. That's about to change in a big way. The Niners possess arguably the best front 7 in the NFL. A healthy Nick Bosa will be a huge test for this Eagles offensive line. Dee Ford, who missed 15 games in 2020 due to a back injury, made an instant impact with a sack and 2 quarterback hits last Sunday. Dee Ford was a beast versus the Detroit Lions. In 3 straight passing plays against the Lions, Ford caused a pick 6, a sack, and forced an offensive holding penalty. Lane Johnson in week 1 had 3 penalties and will need to be much more prepared in week 2. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, 2 of the best linebackers in the league, made their presence felt against the Lions with 17 combined tackles. Azeez Al-Shaair was a major standout as well, tallying 7 tackles, 2 passes defended, and 2 tackles for loss. While the Niners gave up 33 points to the Detroit Lions, 23 of those coming in the second half, the Niners front 7 will surely be a much more difficult task for Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Here's what I expect. Similar to what we saw on Sunday, I expect Nick Sirianni to utilize a similar game plan to the one we saw against the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles need to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands quickly, get the ball in the hands of the Eagles burners in space, and utilize the RPO to keep the Niners front 7 off balance as much as possible. I expect the Eagles' quick-fire offense to return this Sunday in order to stretch DeMeco Ryans' defense and get Jalen Hurts in rhythm inside that pocket. If Nick Sirianni can keep Jalen Hurts confident inside that pocket and avoid mistakes, the Eagles offense should take care of itself. Jalen Hurts was 5 for 8 for 50 yards and a touchdown when outside the pocket in week 1. All right, guys, let's move on to my number 2 storyline for the Eagles, and that is make life for George Kittle the Pitts. The Eagles struggled against big plays all season in 2020, giving up 27 passing touchdowns against 8 interceptions, with many of them going to tight ends. They allowed 835 yards and 9 touchdowns on 80 receptions to opposing tight ends in 2020. What a difference one game can make. Defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon made his debut felt for the Eagles, and he didn't let up a single touchdown to the Atlanta Falcons. More impressive was how they were able to limit Kyle Pitts to just 4 receptions on 8 targets for 31 yards and Hayden Hurst to 4 receptions and 28 yards. Now I understand it was just the Falcons. However, Eagles fans should be ecstatic that the defense was able to hold Atlanta tight ends to just 59 yards and 0 touchdowns on 12 targets. For a team that got bit by tight ends week in and week out in 2020, this is a serious development to keep an eye on heading into week 2. 20 of Kyle Pitts' 32 offensive snaps came in the slot, while he generated only 1.0 yard per route run with only 1 first down. Jonathan Gannon deserves a ton of credit in week 1, but that doesn't mean a Sunday off come week 2, because it doesn't get any easier for the Eagles. Kittle is one of the most well-rounded tight ends in the game. He's among the best of the best when it comes to catching the ball and blocking. Kyle Shanahan does an excellent job finding mismatches in coverage and unleashing George Kittle in the Niners passing attack. Kittle had 4 receptions on 5 targets on 78 yards against the Detroit Lions in week 1. It's important to note that while George Kittle only had 2 targets in the first half, they also had a 31-10 lead while Deebo Samuel was doing Deebo Samuel things. The second half is where George Kittle had his other 3 targets. However, it's also important to note that nearly half of Kittle's yard production came on the first play of the second half. Following that play, Kittle only had 2 receptions for 20 yards and a false start. The Niners put a 3-quarter whooping on the Detroit Lions in Week 1. I'm not going to look deeply into this fourth quarter where the Lions scored 23 of the last 26 points in the game. The Niners defense was mostly in prevent mode. The offense took their foot off the pedal. I'm not going to overreact. But guys, do you remember the last time the Eagles played the Niners was in 2020, last year? In that game, George Kittle hauled in an unbelievable 15 passes on 15 targets for 183 yards and a touchdown. Here's what I expect. I expect the Eagles to throw a heavy dose of multiple bracket and nickel coverages at George Kittle while also being physical with him at the line of scrimmage to keep everything in front of him. The Eagles cannot afford to make any mistakes. George Kittle averaged 14.3 yards after the catch per reception versus the Detroit Lions, and the Eagles cannot allow this guy to get into open space. 57 of Kittle's 78 yards on Sunday came after the catch. The Eagles linebackers, a major weakness in 2020, performed very well in 3 out of 4 quarters last Sunday. 35 of Alex Singleton's 43 snaps on defense came in coverage last Sunday, and not one of them was a first down. A lot of positives in Week 1 from this Eagles linebacking core. It doesn't get any easier come this Sunday. My number 3 storyline to watch is Mickey and Rocky voice, speed's what we need. Grease lightning speed. To piggyback off of our first key matchup, the San Francisco secondary isn't particularly deep. Jason Verrett's torn ACL last Sunday is significant. The loss will surely have ramifications on and off the field, as Verrett is a leader inside that locker room. Without their top cornerback, the Niners could be in serious trouble against the Eagles' young speedsters. The screen game returning to Philadelphia was a revelation. That was emphasized from the jump when Nick Sirianni went back-to-back screens to Quez Watkins to start the season. That was even further fleshed out when Jalen Reagor took a screen pass for a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Expect to hear K'Waun Williams' name a lot on Sunday. This is a guy that operates mostly out of the slot. The other guy to know is Diamador Lenoir, a 5th-round rookie. According to Next Gen Stats, this guy played 55 coverage snaps, including 4 targets, 1 reception, and 3 yards allowed, and I'm sure we'll be hearing his name a lot, especially going up against Devontae Smith in Week 2. All signs point to the Eagles utilizing Week 1's blueprint versus San Francisco in Week 2. I expect the Eagles to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands quickly via screens, RPOs, design runs, and misdirection plays with Quez Watkins, with Jalen Reagor on the edges. Look for the Eagles to throw heavily again in the first half and locate mismatches against a weak Niners secondary. There was a point in the second quarter against the Falcons when the chemistry between Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith shined with 4 straight completions. As you can probably guess, I expect a huge performance from Devontae Smith in the home opener against the Niners. When targeting Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts had a passer rating of 148.5. Come on, guys, let's go. Here is my number 4 storyline for the Philadelphia Eagles, and that is, I came in like a Gannon ball. What a wild debut for Jonathan Gannon, who held the Falcons to just 6 points. Gannon's defense was locked in during the second half, where they held Matt Ryan to just 106 yards passing and 14 total yards on the ground. The Eagles' defensive line dominated the last 3 quarters, ending with 3 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. You look here, Javon Hargrave was Pro Football Focus's #1 pass rusher during Week 1. He's got a much more difficult task here in Week 2, and before we start talking about those Niners playmakers, let's talk about how they look up front. Trent Williams was excellent in the win over Detroit. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL. The Detroit Lions had 1 sack and only 3 quarterback hits. However, it's also important to note that 1 sack came off a blitz. Right tackle Matt McGlinchey had a 91.3 run blocking grade, #2 in the NFL last year, according to Pro Football Focus. Left guard Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, and Daniel Brunskill runs out a very strong offensive line. Sadly for Eagles fans, Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox will not have Jalen Mayfield to go up against in Week 2. It's hard to argue against Jimmy Garoppolo, who has a 23-8 record in 31 starts with the San Francisco 49ers. This time, however, the Niners will bring dual threats at quarterback to Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday. Keeping Gannon's defense off balance via Trey Lance and Jimmy G will be a major focal point for the Niners offense. That includes Deebo Samuel, one of the most versatile weapons in the NFL. Here's what I'm watching. Can the Eagles secondary keep up with the Niners playmakers? The good news, versatile speedster Brandon Ayuk was removed from the lineup in Week 1, and his status for Week 2 is currently unknown. This is a guy who was expected to form an explosive duo with Deebo Samuel in 2021. He only played 15 snaps versus the Detroit Lions and received 0 targets. As of Tuesday, Kyle Shanahan said that this guy is not in the doghouse, but this will be surely something we will be monitoring as the week progresses. More good news for the Eagles. Darius Slay and Steven Nelson were really effective in Week 1. They only allowed 1 first down on 12 targets against Calvin Ridley and the other Falcons wide receivers. All right, guys, what do you guys think of this Eagles versus Niners matchup in Week 2? Let us know down in that comment section below. Guys, if you love the Eagles, if you don't love the Eagles, please be sure to share the love, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, comment. Thank you everybody for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Thank you everyone. Stay awesome, baby. Go